James was 40 when he met his second wife, Harper, who was 7 years his junior. She was breathtaking, an elegant figure, cascading waves of hair that turned heads wherever she went. Walking beside her, James couldn't help but feel a sense of pride. His first marriage to Olivia had unraveled when she succumbed to heavy drinking. Despite his unwavering support and efforts to help her through rehabilitation, Olivia inevitably fell back into old patterns. When it became unbearable, James made the difficult decision to leave. Leaving Olivia also meant taking his son, Asher, with him. At 22, Asher had just graduated from university and was embarking on a promising internship. James was immensely proud of his son's accomplishments. Over the years, he had poured himself into his craft, building his workshop from the ground up, saving diligently, and earning a respected reputation. Now that his business was running smoothly without his constant oversight, he was contemplating opening a second location in another part of the city. James met Harper through a business associate at a social event. From across the room, he spotted her amidst a circle of women, and his interest was piqued instantly. Her presence was magnetic. A year and a half later, they were married. James was certain he couldn't let a woman like Harper slip through his fingers, especially since she appeared to appreciate the financial security he could offer and the way he indulged her every whim. Their wedding was nothing short of extravagant. Harper basked in the luxury of it all, reveling in the admiration of her friends as she flaunted her successful husband. Harper had little interest in domestic responsibilities, preferring takeout over home-cooked meals, but James didn't mind. He knew what he had signed up for. As their third anniversary approached, he broached the topic of children. The idea of fatherhood excited him, this time with the woman he adored by his side. But each time he brought it up, Harper sidestepped the conversation, offering one excuse after another. Still, James remained hopeful that, in time, she'd come around. One evening, Harper approached him with a request. She wanted a vacation, just her and her girlfriends, somewhere by the beach. Frustrated by his hesitation, she threw up her hands. "Have you ever said no to me, James?" Without looking up from his work, he answered, "We can go together." Harper huffed. "I don't want to go with you. I want to go with my friends. Why is everyone else allowed, but I'm not?" With that, she stormed out, slamming the door hard enough to make the walls tremble. James remained unfazed. He recognized her attempts to push his buttons, but refused to let them work. He was certain he was making the right call. After that night, Harper began spending more and more time with her friends, frequenting nightclubs, pushing boundaries. On several occasions, James had to pick her up when she had too much to drink. He saw it for what it was, a game, a deliberate attempt to provoke him. She knew what had led to his first divorce, and now she was mirroring it, taunting him. Yet, when he carried his intoxicated wife into their home, gently tucking her into bed, he merely shook his head with a weary smile. "Silly girl," he murmured, brushing a strand of hair from her face. By morning, she was still fast asleep when he left for work. As he arrived at his workshop, his phone vibrated. Harper's name flashed on the screen. Without a second thought, he silenced it. She'd have to wait. He was determined to let her feel the weight of his absence. That evening, the son called his father and asked him to stop by the workshop for a tablet. He left it there, and the next day he needed it for work. "Why can't you do it yourself?" James asked. Asher hesitated before chuckling. I'm at the bar. With someone." His father laughed. "Got it. Good luck, son." James grinned, shaking his head. For all the chaos in his marriage, some things still brought him joy. As James arrived at the workshop, he used his key to unlock the door, and while he thought he heard some sounds, he shrugged it off, attributing it to the usual lack of soundproofing in the garage complex. Through the window, he noticed his business partner's car parked in the client parking lot. Trying to reach Luke by phone, he realized there was no signal. At first, James didn't think much of Luke being in the lot, assuming he'd just taken a cab to the restaurant. But when the noises continued, He realized they were coming from his office, not the garage. Feeling puzzled, he decided to check things out. Swinging open the door to his study, he froze at the sight before him. In a panic, James fumbled for the light switch, his mind racing. The light flickered on, revealing an oil painting of his wife on the table, with Luke standing over her, his pants down. A flood of thoughts overwhelmed James as he let out an enraged roar and lunged at Luke, grabbing him by the chest. Harper scrambled back into a corner of the room. Furious, James shoved Luke against the wall. Despite Luke's physical disadvantage, he seemed too stunned to put up much of a fight. Luke spat back, "And you think it's all my fault?" Harper spoke from the corner, revealing that Luke had been secretly involved in their lives for the past year, unbeknownst to James. She accused him of not letting her go on that trip with her girlfriends. It became clear that Harper had been meeting Luke at clubs during her frequent absences, and one of these encounters had been the turning point for their marriage. Breathing heavily, James finally let go of Luke, who hastily dressed and left without a word. James was left alone with Harper, still huddled in the corner, clutching her purse. Her disheveled look, smudged makeup, and lipstick stains made her seem pitiful, almost unrecognizable. James pointed to the door, his voice cold. "Leave. Don't bother coming back. I'll personally take all your things to your mother's." A whirlwind of emotions churned inside him. Rage, bitterness, self-loathing. He was consumed by a need to smash something, to lash out, but Luke was already gone, leaving James with no outlet for his frustration. It didn't take long for James to reflect on his lawyer's wisdom in insisting on a prenuptial agreement with Harper. The agreement meant that Harper would leave with nothing, just as she had come into his life, carrying nothing but a suitcase. That thought gave James some small comfort amidst the storm of emotions. Initially, Asher, James' son, had felt responsible for sending his father to the workshop that night. However, James reassured him, and he was relieved that the truth had finally come to light. He couldn't imagine how much longer Harper might have deceived him, draining his finances in the process. After the divorce, Harper thought Luke would take her in, marry her, and build a life together. But to her shock, Luke had no such plans. He wasn't interested in settling down. He enjoyed his life as a bachelor and had no intentions of marrying her. Any woman who realized his financial status would do anything to get close to him, and Luke made it clear he had no desire for a committed relationship. He laughed off her proposal and offered her an alternative. She could stay on as one of his many companions, with some financial support in exchange. With no job experience and nowhere else to turn, Harper reluctantly agreed, resigning herself to life as a kept woman. But Luke wasn't about to become a loving husband. He gave her money when he felt like it, but that was the extent of his support. Harper's unhappiness deepened over time. Eventually, she began to long for her ex-husband. But by then, James had moved on, focused on his own life, and showed no interest in the woman who had betrayed him. Harper's short-sightedness and need for revenge had played a cruel trick on her. After all, secrets have a way of coming to light eventually.